you're not here with me. I'm falling apart right in front of you. Can't you see? I lose control when you're not here with me. Yeah, you're breaking my heart, baby. You make a mess of me. WEFM is SPG.
Activated Mornings on WEFM 99.9 is on now.
And we are back with more talking again right here on Activated Mornings on WEFM. As usual, I'm going to let you know that you can give us a call if you wish to be a part of our discussion by dialing 457-9997. With that number, you can reach us on WhatsApp. You can also reach us on the landline number. This discussion, it's about you and us. It's about all of us. In Vinci Creole, it's about Alawi. Righty then. So we are going to head into a topic here now, of course, and we want to know, how long will you stay with someone who has a storage and a cleaning problem? Right now, we know that this can be broad, right? But we're gonna go to the hoarding disorder first. Right now, if you are not aware, there is this thing called hoarding, where persons would store a lot of what somebody else would see as unnecessary things. It just cannot throw anything away. And this is actually a disorder. It's called a hoarding disorder, and it's an ongoing difficulty throwing away or parting with possessions because you believe that you need to save them. You may experience distress at the thought of getting rid of the items. You gradually keep or gather a huge number of items regardless of their actual value. And I should have gone and looked some more into this, but I didn't have the time before now to get that done, in time for this. But I am interested to know what could cause hoarding, if it could possibly be triggered by something in your previous life because you are unable to get things that you wanted at a particular time. So now you just have this habit, well, not this habit, but this way of holding on to things, right? But that is not what we're going to discuss right now. We want to know, if you were married to somebody who had this condition, or married to somebody who just had a problem with cleaning and keeping things tidy in general for various reasons. It could be that they have this disorder. It could be that they have some other sort of disorder, or they just, something about their personality, right? But we want to know, how long are you going to put up with it? You love your partner. You got married. Perhaps you were one of those persons who saw this little packing up thing with your partner, but you said, we work on that. We get over that. That's a small thing. Then before you know it, your kitchen is filled with things. You can barely find space to make a cup of tea. The table is filled with things under the table, in the cupboards, in the living room, in the bedroom. Let's see, we have a call, so let's take the call. Hello, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, ladies.
Morning.
I really love your topics, You're talking about hoarding. There's hoarding and there's collecting. And
yes.
Some people don't quite know the differences. The hoarder would say it's collecting.
Well, this is it, right? When do people decide to get married? It's very vital that you get counseling and you cover everything. When I collect stuff. My wife collects as well, but she calls my stuff hoarding. For example, I collect elephants and I collect caps, I collect flags, I collect antiques, and she calls it hoarding. On the other hand, Mrs. Richardson collects mugs. She's got over like 300 mugs. And it is my duty once a year to climb up on the countertop, take the mugs down, he would wash them, dry them, and I would stack them back up like 4 deep and 3 high. I mean, that many. And if you were to come to our home and I'm not around and you see my stuff, my elephants or anything, and you say, "Oh, I like that," guess what happened?
You would give it away?
No. Miss Richardson would say, "Take it." She would say, "Take it." So I am not a hoarder. I collect stuff. But how she would explain it, the difference between collecting and hoarding, she would say, "My stuff that I have here, we use it." There was this stuff called Haute Marion. It's a kind of the ladies would understand what I'm talking about. It's like fine china and all of that stuff. And you know, everybody, when I was growing up, I don't know if it's still the same in St. Vincent, where everybody had a wagon where they have these special dishes that you only use around Christmas time.
Wagon?
Are you familiar with
I don't
that?
know about the wagon
We call
title,
it
but
cabinets. We would say cabinets. Yeah.
Yes. Cabinet. Now, everything that she has, it doesn't matter how expensive it is, we use it at some point. So she said the difference between me and you is that you are a hoarder. Only you could gain value from your stuff. Your elephants collect dust. Your brass and so on collect dust. Your watches collect dust. My stuff, we use all the time. So the hoarder is the one who's got this stuff there that he's not using. He just did it because I love elephants. And another thing I would love to collect is women, but
Joshua, thank you for calling.
Clearly, Yolangano. Clearly, anyway, it's true. Yes, I know why. Yes.
Let me make my point right. But Mrs. Richardson would not have that. She said, "Yes, you could collect them if you want to, but when you bring them in, you got to go."
Yeah.
So you see, so the collector has stuff that is being used, and the hoarder, his or her stuff is of no use to nobody else but that individual.
All right. Thanks, Joshua.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
I wonder how easy it is for somebody who is collecting to become a hoarder, because I gotta admit that at one point I looked at myself and I had to say, Dianna, do you think we have a problem?
Because you fell into that
and it happened after a friend said something. When I heard her make the comment, I was like, wait, am I a mini hoarder? Like,
so she came by you and
I was moving and some friends came by to help me move, and it was just, now that I look back on it, now that I've thought on the situation and I've grown a little bit and I look back on it, that was a bunch of unnecessary stuff, Roleza. I was so embarrassed because I was like, I'm moving this truckload of things and half of these things are not even useful or being used. I was one of those persons who would not throw away containers. You buy something, like, let's say you buy milk in a pan and the pan finish and you're saving it up because something else could go in this later or something like that, among other things. You say
all right, so we have a call. I will give my opinions on this just now. All right, Dave, morning again.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, we're hearing you, Dave. Go right ahead.
Yeah, very interesting, because I've had to deal with that, if you call it a problem or what, right? And that's why some people love their own, love their separation, even within a home or a marriage or whatever, right? Because we all have our taste and distaste, let me put it that way. Things that Roleza might like, Dianna might like, and I live in with one of you, so to speak, and I do like certain things. It's bound to create some kind of misunderstanding. Call it what you would make. Yeah, but I know, for instance, collect reading material. I am always willing to preserve certain things. In other words, I always remember this when I went to the hospital for a long stay. It's like I created my own library in the hospital. So when I used to have the nurse coming in my corner, and I was in a corner there too. In male surgical, I was in my corner. And that's how I became friendly with a lot of the nurses, because when they wanted to know what's happening, they used to come and sit by my bedside and read my material. All right? So you see, in one way, I created that library in my corner in the hospital, and it attracted nurses to come and read and all that stuff. I could call some names, so that's why we are such good friends, those nurses, and they know who they are, and so on. So it's a it's an individual thing, and if you don't find the right partner, yes, I am aware to that, because it has happened to me. I have had to lose or throw away a lot of stuff because it became a nuisance. After a while, I mean, it became a nuisance to others around me, but then to me, myself, I can't go with them. So what I going to do? I had to do things, or I had to get rid of them somehow and so on. But very interesting, because some of the things that we as individuals look at as very significant, important, and all of that. I have had, for instance, when somebody came to me when they heard I hearing me on the radio, a guy was at UE. I wonder what become of him now. He came and collect a lot of, well, these days we said data. What is the difference between data and information? So he came, you all could think about that and tell, there's so much things I pick up on, Thank you anyhow.
All right, thanks, Dave.
All right, then the song ended. All right, then. So you gonna say something or continue?
So just to talk on this, so you asked the question, what are some of the triggers that can cause hoarding?
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing up poor might actually be one of those triggers.
I thought of that, Yeah.
I think growing up poor could actually cause it, because when you grow up not having, all right, so Coach Colin, I'll finish it after.
That was the very first one I thought about.
Yeah. Hi, Coach, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Morning, angels.
Morning.
I think there's a very thin line between hoarding and a collector.
I agree.
Both of them could be saying them. I don't care what you say. If you have too much stuff in your house, then you have too much stuff in your house.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And some people say, "Oh, I have this artwork, I have this painting, I have that."
Mm-hmm.
They have not a room on the wall. They have no room, nowhere to put no more painting, but they're still buying painting.
Correct. Yeah. That's it. Mm-hmm.
Some of them they actually get a storeroom to store their stuff. And they have no more room in the house, and they call themselves collectors.
Mm-hmm.
So there's Josh, sorry, I think you know what you're say about. She was using harder.
Okay, it was Keta calling the other patois.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's exactly that.
Yes. Keta calling the pot black, bottom black. I mean, if you have too much stuff, you definitely have too much stuff. I don't care what you tell me. I mean, you're supposed to be able. I mean, some people have it to the extreme that they have. I've seen people, they only have room on their bed and like a little walkway for them to walk up.
Mm-hmm.
There was this TV show with a harder lady.
Yep.
She's a lawyer. When she come out to your house and you see her going down the road, you won't believe what she just left in her house.
Mm-hmm. See me and come live with me.
Pizza box from God knows when she bought that pizza.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you have it bad. When you can't even throw a pizza box.
Yeah.
So there's a thin line. There's a thin line. Anyone could cross it easy.
Mhm.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Kojo.
And as Kojo mentioned this show, I got a clip from, I think it was, well, it's either that show or something similar, but I got a clip that started this discussion from that, where this lady is living with her husband, and she is the holder, and if you see the house, it's covered, it's barely any space to walk, and her husband is saying he's tired of that, and he willing to put up with that no more. So that is what started this discussion. So yeah,
There was actually a TLC show. I think it's TLC. It was one of Hoarders.
Yeah,
There's a
yeah,
show.
you see.
Yeah. Right. So you were talking about the triggers. So for me, I think being raised poor is one of them. It is also maybe due to so not just being raised poor, but maybe your current economic situation. Because let's say you're a person you're not full of means. You're thinking you just never know when whatever it is that you keep is going to come in handy, right? Disaster could fall or whatever. You feel like you have your own storage space where you'll be able to pull things from, either for your own personal use or to give to somebody else, right? So now I know that the thing with hoarding is that persons don't necessarily show the signs of being a hoarder upfront. So in what you spoke about there with the husband and the wife, she may have developed this over time. So he did not initially see it in her when they got married. Me personally, Christians, close your ears. But me personally, I believe that people need to experience living together
Me too.
before getting married.
God,
No, I'm not saying to
seriously.
live in a full-time capacity. You could be visiting, let's say, on the weekends, but I need to see how you live.
Honestly.
Right? Because if you're nasty, if you're one of those persons who after you're done eat, you're just leaving things in the sink, and I know who's supposed to wash it up, if it's supposed to be me or whatever, I need to see how you live. I also need to see like what your daily habits might be, right? Because it's a little things sometimes that cause us to trip when it comes to living in the same space with an individual.
Yep.
And for me, I'm not going down that road. No, this is not, as people tend to think that the only reason why people want to live together is fornication. Fornication don't even have to happen with just living together, right? But I need to be able to observe your daily habits to see if we both can live together, because I can love you with all my whole heart, but certain things just not going to work with me, right? Getting back to the hoarding thing, I also think that if you are not going to be using something, let's say within 3 to 6 months, chances are you're never going to use it, right? So what is the purpose of cleaning it? As Kojo mentioned, if you have a bed that you can't sleep on, if you have a house that you are barely able to walk through, then something is wrong, right? The collection of items, now I would only collect things if there are going to be long-term financial value to it, right? So maybe like the China, I won't have the China necessarily out, but China is something that once it's sold, you can fetch a good price. Maybe not necessarily in my generation, but in my great-grandchild's generation, right? So I would collect things that down the road may be of financial value. But to just have things there, like even within my own home, if I am not going to be using something, I either donate it or I just get rid of it completely, because it doesn't make sense. And for me, living in a cluttered environment is sometimes also reflective of your mind, because to me, if it means that if you can't let go of physical things, it might also mean that you can't let go of emotional things. And the state of your home sometimes gives an impression or gives a view of what your mind is also like. And for me, it is, I need space to walk. I need to be able, if I say I'm getting up on a Saturday morning and I'm going to clean, I need to be able to clean in a breeze.
Yeah.
Right? I need to be able to clean a breeze. You see all these ornaments? I will not be taking down all these ornaments every Saturday to be cleaning them off. I will not be doing that. So in the first place, if I don't want to have to go through all of that, I'm not collecting ornaments. Right? So these are just a few examples, but I think persons need to realize that sometimes also the respiratory illnesses that they come down with is also as a result of their home environment, because things are just there collecting dust, right? You can't get up every day and take down all the ornaments and wipe them down. You can't take down all these picture frames and so forth that not even your family pictures inside of them. Is the actual picture frame that you bought inside of the store, right? You can't take them all these things and clean them. So I think persons, it's not so much to say you have a minimalist type of living situation, but you need to keep your homes. Suppose a fire break out. How are some persons going to jump over the hurdles that they have in their homes because of the amount of clutter that they have?
They probably they walk the path so much they know it's out their head. They don't know what to fly through.
But then how would somebody who, let's say, is going to come in to try to rescue them, how are they going to navigate all of that?
I'm curious to know at what point. I'm curious to know that point when the person, whoever it is, whether it's you or whoever's living with you, realizes that it's too much. Because for the husband who is saying, listen, I'm fed up now. And when you look at their house, there is not a single space. I want to know, at some point, did you not think before it got to that, wait, here's starting to get kind of full up, maybe something, you don't see that. That's.
Yeah. And even in that case, the husband, might say, try to get rid of things. But suppose he has a wife who has for whatever reason, emotional attachment to it. So rather than trying to create, he's trying to keep the peace. So in order to keep the peace, he's allowing her to keep the things. But at some point, it is going to start to affect. No, well, I know for sure I wasn't staying because I can't live in a home environment with clutter. I personally can't do it. So if it's not in you, sorry, if I have to come across somebody living like that, I don't care who you be. We are not going to be living together. I would find a way to find a way out of that situation, right? But there are some persons who don't know the difference. There's a thing though that I realized, and I saw it on one of these lives recently. It was, NBC Radio had a live recently of a particular, I'm not sure if it's a business. They had a quote unquote, was it junkyard sale? They call it a yard sale. I can't remember what was the exact words that they used. And when I saw that, I don't know if it was brand new things or whatever, right? But the point is like they had different types of things. Like I saw this table that but I love antique stuff, right? If I had space to collect a lot of antique stuff, I would. But because I don't, I have to keep it at a minimal level. So
admire from afar. So you just admire from afar,
right? And when it is a confined space where it's not going to cause too much clutter, then I would put it in a particular space. But I want my home to be clutter-free. But one of the things that I think that many persons, what I would love to see is somebody setting up a business where use a parking lot space or whatever, where persons can bring like their antique stuff, right? Or things that are not in use within your own home, and you can sell them because one man's garbage is another man's treasure. Right? And I have had instances where, when I moved out, I walked with something from mommy, gave it to me. So I was able to refurbish it, right? Another person recognizing that I liked antique stuff, she donated something to me and I was able to fix it up. She just had it there in the corner, but I was able to put use to it. So I really and truly wish that maybe somebody could have set up like a yard sale on a Saturday where persons can bring things. Now, it just takes a little bit of vision sometimes for persons to realize, there's this, somebody might have, what's the thing, is the wrought iron. Somebody might have like a wrought iron chair or a table that is just there collecting rust on their porch. But if you have the vision of how you can fix it up and transform it, then it becomes something, it can become something like an art piece within somebody's home. So I think not for us to be led to the throwaway generation, because that's how people like to look at us as well, the throwaway generation. But we have to find allow for there to be a space where I can bring my old stuff, you probably fix it up, it goes into somebody's home, So I think it's just having that long-term vision.
Helps the planet as well.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking for quite a bit, so we are going to head out of this talk segment right now. And the next time you hear from us will most likely be at 9:00 when we bring to you ECCB currency exchange rates. But if that be it for now, then we're out.